welcome you to our October 8th, 2013 meeting. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, any problems with the bills? No problem? Okay. Can I have a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Water and sewer report, there for your reading pleasure, as usual.
Good work.
Correspondence, the only thing we had was Congressman Chris Gibson regarding broadband symposium, October 21st at 9 a.m. Sullivan County Community College to register 8:15 to 8:50 a.m. and that's at the Selig Theater. To develop your strategy for expanding broadband in your community, individuals, community leaders, local businesses, and government officials are all invited and encouraged to attend. Chris makes a statement, as I have traveled the 165 towns throughout the 19th district, I have heard from people who have asked to help bring broadband service. This symposium has been created to help them try to find solutions. Congressman Chris Gibson. So, and there's a number on here if you want to contact somebody for more information. I did receive one other thing from NYSERDA, and I just need to speak with Brandy about that later after the meeting. We need to set a date to meet them in person. So, okay? Thank you. Announcements, we have a document shredding day on November 2nd. That's been set for the town hall parking lot from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So if anybody has any questions about what you can bring, town clerk has all that information.
Carol, you had emailed about help for that from the highway?
Just for our stuff that we need shredded.
Okay.
Because we have several bags down here.
And you'll just let me know what time you guys want to do it and
If you want
stuff?
to coordinate with Carol. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be the best thing. So, because
Okay.
I don't think any of us are going to be able to lift them out there.
Carol, also the sheriff's office will be here doing the
Oh, that's
bill
right.
collection.
Yes. Did you confirm that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so the sheriff's department will also be there doing pill collection, so if you have any prescription drugs or anything that are outdated, not in use anymore, they will take them, because it's not really a safe idea to flush it down. Any of, even your home systems, if you don't have the sewer system, but it's not a good idea to put the medications into our sewer systems, so because they don't get filtered out properly. So, anything to add to that, Don? No? Okay.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
You're gonna cut down on your profits, ain't it?
Yeah.
Especially the narcotic drugs still.
You gotta look elsewhere.
Yes, that's another thing to mention too, because there have been break-ins and whatnot in this past year or two that a lot of people, and that's what they're looking for, a lot of people. They're going in and they're trying to find prescription drugs and they're stealing them. So that's another reason to get rid of them out of your house if they're not in use.
I see something in the paper where the pharmacies can now accept drugs instead of just law enforcement, but
Right.
if people want to bring it to pharmacies, they can also do that.
Yep. Good point, Gordon.
Yeah, the tomatoes are real happy. I like eating.
And there will be a defensive driving course November 2nd as well, that same day at the town hall from 9 to 3. Reservations, you call Dominic at that number by October 30th, please.
No, I'm not a sick one.
You knew that.
Division reports, highway? Hey, Colin.
Wow, that's quick.
Not a cat.
Okay, we had no overtime to report for September. We used a total of 366.2 gallons of gas, 121.3 was non-highway, 244.9 was highway. We also used 835.6 gallons of diesel, 191 was non-highway, 644.6 was highway. We unloaded the desk for the town hall, moved it down to the town hall and assembled that desk, which was there last month, but this happened in the beginning of last month, that's why it's on here. Started mowing right away for the last time this year. Have a good days left of mowing yet. We ditched the back half of Swamp Pond Road, also cut the bank back up past the bridge on the right side of Swamp Road so that we can keep it mowed. They cut all the brush off it, but there was no way of maintaining it, so we took care of that. Finished ditching Chalk Road, we ditched Homestead Road, we repaired potholes on Swamp Pond Road, Lake Ridge, and Brook Road. We went down to the pit and hauled some ditching material in to rebuild the berms and fill some holes. We seeded it and mulched it, and I'm just waiting on Soil and Water coming to check it out, and then they're gonna contact the DEC. But we should be done with that. I got Norm Sutherland to come in with an excavator. We replaced the pipe on Perry Pond and Bear Run. We had to rent a pump to pump the water because it was quite a bit of water flowing. Actually, it wasn't too bad at that time, but we had to be prepared for whatever came up against. We went the next day and we set the mafia blocks and assembled the guardrails. We put millings down and graded and rolled on Humphrey Road and Ackerman Road on the hills. That gave us problems. Whenever it rained, it washed out. We cut brush and hanging limbs on Deep Howell Hill Road because a school bus driver complained about it. And
Who was that, Glenn? Who was that?
we went down to the pit and there was some old growth down there. It actually wasn't seeded, but the DEC guy and the Soil and Water thought it was, so we mowed it down so they can continue thinking that. And we mowed around the edges of next to the woods. We patched holes in the center road on the Coshecton Turnpike that were washed out. We shouldered a couple spots on Coshecton Turnpike. What happened was after we paved it, we raised it up and it was a couple drop-offs. We still got more to do there though. We sent 2 trucks to Lumberland to assist in chip sealing. And we chip sealed Grassy Swamp Road that was paved earlier this year. And we also chipped Evergreen at the same time. Evergreen wasn't really on a schedule to do, but I noticed over the course of the summer the oils were coming to the surface of the road. And usually when you see that, when winter comes along and you start plowing it, the next thing you know you're plowing up the road. So we chip sealed it to save the road. We had enough money to do it, so we did it. We had some breakdowns, but nothing we couldn't get fixed ourselves. Filled in some potholes on Tusten Road, and we swept the excess of stone off the Grassy Swamp and Evergreen from the chip sealing. And 2 things that I gotta mention, which wasn't on the email, was we mowed the landfill down there, and I submitted a bill to CHIPS for reimbursement for CHIPS money. And that's all I really have for you.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions? Alrighty, water and sewer, Don?
Past month we pumped 41,000 gallons from septic tanks. We installed risers and repaired caps and cleanouts in certain tanks that were broken. We checked a lot of tanks. Upon checking tanks, we found a lot of grease in the Main Street tank. We traced it back to Gerard River Grill. We're working with Gerard right now to get him on a better schedule of pumping his grease interceptor. We're kind of having failure of communication, but we're working through it and we're working together on it. Received a call on 9/13 that grinder station M3 was going off an alarm. I found that the breaker was blown. I turned it on, it tripped again. I looked into it and found that the starter had went on it again. I'd replaced it the month prior, so I replaced it. I got it running. The following day, I got another call saying it was going off again, and it had dead shorted again. I found that the pump was overheating because it was caked in grease. So I stayed there till about midnight because I could run the pump down for 10 seconds at a time. So I didn't want to shut the restaurant down, and they kept discharging hot water from the dishes. So I was there from about 6 to midnight. Sunday morning, me and J&S Electric, we pulled the pump out. We got a temporary pump in there now that's working fine, but I had a pump in stock, but I was gonna have to rewire the whole system. So I ordered a new pump, which is gonna be here pretty soon. We're gonna install it on a Tuesday to minimize the inconvenience for the restaurant because we're closed on Tuesdays. I ordered a portable pump to run off the battery of the dump truck to fill the generators when we have no power in case of emergencies instead of 5-gallon cans. Yeah, it prevents spills and stuff like that. CRA is all done at the landfill site. They pulled out their equipment. Glenn was down there, he mowed, and we restored the areas that they were where they had their trailers and their equipment and stuff. And We're hydrant flushing the 16th and 17th of this month, next week. So, just so everybody knows. Gonna be hanging notices and stuff like that, without it out in the paper, just so everybody's up to it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Don? All good? Billing, Gary?
For the month of September, I conducted 13 construction inspections, 1 fire and safety inspection, 4 complaint related inspections, issued 2 certificates of occupancy, 10 certificates of compliance, issued 14 building permits, including 1 for a new home, 2 for decks, 1 demolition permit, 5 electrical permits, 2 permit renewals, 1 swimming pool, and 1 roof replacement. Issued CO, we did 9 C of O in violation searches, and received 3 complaints. We closed out 3 complaints and attended a continued education class on concrete inspection on the 25th. We collected $3,100 and $3,166.10. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Gary? Assessor Ken?
We mailed out our applications for the senior and star exemptions for the enhanced star, those that still sign up with me. Approximately 150 Tusten taxpayers are involved in that. Other taxpayers, some have said that they have signed up online for the basic star without a problem or by phone. So far I hope it's working for everybody. Our applications are due back by March 1st. The normal deed process and the extra surge of address changes during the month of September that are generated by mailing of school tax bills have all been processed to date. And I think in later August I attended the ethics course, which is required every time reappointment occurs. So I'm set on that for this reappointment.
Okay. What's the deadline on the regular star again? To register online for everybody?
They want it by December 31st.
By December 31st, okay. Just
That's
so
what they
everybody's aware
prefer,
of it.
but then they'll start mailing second notices and stuff.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
I don't want that out too much yet.
Yeah. UD6, Susan.
Hi. Okay. Well, what's been happening? We had this month a presentation by Susan Beecher of the Pinchot Institute about adapting to climate change. And that was interesting. And basically that the stuff that we face, like floods and droughts, are likely to get worse, to make it real short. Due to government shutdown, Sean McGinnis wasn't there, nor were representatives from PA and New York. The DRBC was there. Stuff that has been going on, it's like ongoing and happening now. New York State Route 97 oversized vehicles. Apparently a letter was sent from Penn, New York State DOT in July saying that they were going to allow unpermitted oversized vehicles on 97 plus a whole bunch of other state roads, 52 and so forth. And basically the UDC and particularly the scenic byway was not real happy with that. And the reason for it appears to be bridge construction. And the state troopers don't want to be permitting it. This is what they do normally, but they don't want to do that. Just want to say, go ahead, have as many oversized vehicles as you would like. And so the letter that the UDC sent out supported having, basically objected to it on the grounds of disruption and safety. And what they requested was that there be a 1-year sunset clause, that it would, let's see. Okay. In fact, such designation would open up the route to unpermitted use through the length of the corridor, significantly increases the potential for impairment to the scenic and rural character, etc. So they want to say, they first of all would like to be included in these decisions, and next of all they said include a sunset clause to expire 1 year after the adoption of it, to outweigh, what the costs and benefits were, and to limit it to weekdays to avoid conflicts with. And my comment was, I thought it was, safety issues were huge, because you've got campgrounds, you've got people walking out in the middle of Route 97. So it just seemed crazy, but apparently the likelihood is that this will happen, and all you can do is say, look at it again in a year. So that's basically what they did. Cell towers in Damascus, communication towers workshop. Travis made inquiries about the possibility of a potential for a comprehensive plan for towers in the corridor, and basically in the river corridor. But he has not come up with an industry person who would be objective and is willing to do it. It kind of connects to Gibson's broadband thing, and when I get done, I'll read you something from the broadband study that was done. It's very interesting. So at any rate, that is not happening at UDC right now, but it will probably, and without NPS there and their involvement, it really doesn't have a cohesive approach going on. TAG grants were approved.
Yes,
We
they
have
were.
$3,500, and it's for our emergency management plan. And again, we would need to know what the communications people are doing, you know, broadband, wire, you know, what kind of communications
Yes.
we have available. Flexible flow management plan listening sessions. Tony went to that, Lori and Travis commented, their letters were excellent, they covered everything. The reason this is under discussion is because the FFMP will expire in May. So there'll be another discussion at November's meeting of UDC, given by the Friends of the Upper Delaware. So I think that would be, so Tony, maybe at the end of this report, is there anything you have to add about the listening sessions?
No, I think it was covered. Let me see, I think Fritz was there, and there's a sound clip. I think I sent it,
Yeah.
the sound clip on JFF. If anybody wants it, I can send, no, you can get it on WJFF audio.
Yeah,
There's a clip of about 3 or 4 minutes. And there's also a program, Water Everywhere, which is this coming October 15th and 16th. It's a 2-day presentation with many speakers from New York City, New York State, about the health of the Upper Delaware River. It's at West Branch Angler in Hancock. And if anybody would like that, I can send the program to them.
So that, and this interest is because the flexible flow management plan expires. It has had its faults, it's had its good parts, and some plan needs to be in place, obviously. Where are we? DEC, press release, we have a new person in charge of this Region 3, which is us, a guy named Martin D. Brand. DRBC, the director, Carol Collier, is going to retire as of March 2014. And they have a status report, 8th annual status report on their website. The impact of this federal shutdown on the UDC, it was agreed to send a letter of protest basically to the congressional representatives and President Obama, which was created and vetted over the by sending it to everybody, agree, disagree, and then a final letter was sent. Then they had an executive session on the shutdown because it affected personnel. So the other dates, besides October 15th, there's October 10, Common Waters quarterly meeting is here in the morning. The conference in Hancock, and then at the Worm Committee, also on October 15th, Heather Jaxie will give a presentation, but I believe it's very similar to what she gave us as a town. And then November 7th, next monthly meeting, really gives the Friends of the Upper Delaware's options for the management of the New York City water supply. So that's
Thank
it.
you very much.
Oh, and here you go, the very final thing. Final thoughts. This was that broadband study that was a
Right.
fairly long document. All right, the FCC is in discussion with AT&T and Verizon about converting the public switch telephone network to an all IP. This gets deep. By 2018, when this happens, plain old telephone service, otherwise known as POTS, will be replaced with VoIP, voice over IP, and use the internet requires broadband. Broadband available over satellite does not work well. AT&T and Verizon claim that they cannot afford to maintain 2 networks. When Verizon stops maintaining its local telephone lines in Sullivan County, those locations that do not have 3G wireless whatever, or 4G. Wireless or wireline broadband may find themselves without telephone service.
That was
So
canceled,
that's an interesting possibility.
the whole project. It was in the paper the other day, they did away with it.
At any rate, it's not that far, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of, and we always turn out to be the telephone wasteland or some kind of, you know, Bermuda Triangle of
Right.
telephone
Yeah,
companies.
Yes.
So we would like to avoid that if possible.
Yeah, that kind of scares me, because the last emergency we had, and we had no phone service. and-
work for the old
It definitely, if you're doing an emergency plan, you're entitled to know everything about
Yeah,
it.
I had digital service for Time Warner, and I actually called Frontier, and they came right out and got me hooked up, because with being a supervisor in
keep it.
emergency management,
I keep landlines,
you need a landline.
hardwired
So
landlines.
that's gonna be a big issue for everybody, I think, every
Well,
community,
technology's
for
gonna do it.
communications and emergencies. That's very dangerous. Okay, moving on. Beautification, Jane?
Okay, a couple things. We're in the process of appropriating the winnings from 2013. So those winnings, it was agreed before we even won them, that Main Street will get half of the winnings. And with that, they're going to add some trellises to the new planters and maybe some holiday decorations. And maybe some perennials, so they have half of the winnings for Main Street purposes. And then the balance of the money will be used to build a stacked stone planter around the welcome sign south of the hamlet, which we talked about at another time. We're also trying to submit an early admissions grant with Sullivan Renaissance. Details haven't been worked out, but we know that we'll be working with Ed to create the base for the World Trade Center iron fragment, so that's to go right where you've already approved. Other considerations at this time are to place benches in several areas around town to, this is kind of keeping with the goals of the master plan to encourage pedestrian walking. So we're in contact with Glen Cove Cemetery to see if maybe they would like one, which you know that was one of the walking paths that we talked about. We're in contact with the fire department to see down on tomorrow if they would like one, but we don't know what we can afford. We don't know who will say yes.
Right.
And so we're working on those items. The other thing that we needed the town board approval for, we're going to put a planter. We want to put a planter right on the patio part of, as you enter town hall, right by the theater. It dips down. It's funny. You could break your, you could trip. Do you know where I'm talking about? Just as you come out the theater, you make a right. And there's a dip between the sidewalk and the patio.
Okay.
And so we just thought if we put a planter there, then nobody could trip on that coming out. And then we're considering putting and this is different than the wall idea. And then we were putting we wanted to level off the same thing when you come out of town hall. There's a little dip there. And we wanted to level that off just for safety reasons.
Level it off is how would you?
Well, we might have to put we were originally going to put a sackstone planter there, but we can't because it's too wide.
Right as you come out the door on the left-hand side?
There's asphalt there now, and then it dips down. So if we didn't have the bench there or planters, somebody could trip as they're
The
going.
garbage can is there now, right?
Well, just at the head of it, yes. So we toyed with putting stacked stone planter, but it's too wide. We toyed with putting a stacked stone wall, but it's too wide. So now we're thinking maybe we would just put like a curb and maybe have talk to the highway department about getting a little more asphalt just to even it off for safety reasons. So we do need permission if we go ahead with that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's mostly what we're doing right now.
Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much. Any questions for Jane? No? Okay. LDC?
Yeah, we had a meeting September 30th, finally. Took a while to get everybody rounded up. And it was a half an hour meeting. We decided to meet again on the 14th when there's more people present. We had a quorum, so we were able to change the signatory from Ned, who was interim, till we had a treasurer, to Eileen Falk, who is now the official treasurer. And those minutes can go up to the bank and we can get things organized properly. Also, we had a conversation about the audit, and we decided that if there wasn't funding to do the audit, that we would dissolve the corporation by January 1st. And that was a pretty serious discussion. I think everybody understands the severity of having that audit done, and but we do need the money for that. I got an email after the meeting from Morgan Pewitt, and she had said that she would pay for a portion of that audit. So if that's the case, then maybe on the 14th we can get the confirmation on that. And I'd like to schedule an audit if people are willing to fund it and get that slated before the end of the year. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
What's the cost of the audit?
I was heard $1,200 from Ned. It seems like he's been in communication with Andy Arias, so I'll let him handle that.
Okay. Energy, anything, Brandy? No? Okay. Okay. Before we go into old business, I just need to apologize for the way the agenda is on the last page and a half, I think, that you folks have, because I didn't catch the way it was printing until I printed, so I apologize for that. It's been a hectic week, and I didn't get to printing until this tonight. Yours looks okay. Theirs doesn't. So, old business, discuss the wall caps in the gutter. Work is done,
Done.
and looks good. I don't know if anybody has any comments on that, or?
There was some question about how it's fastened, the gutters and the shingles, the possibility of leakage.
Okay,
So I'd just like to hear him underwrite it against leakage
okay. Do you
for
wanna,
a couple years.
I have his email. Do you have his email?
No,
You
I don't
might-
think so.
No, okay, either. I think I copied it with anyone on some of that stuff, so remind me, I'll email it to you.
Yeah.
And you can send them a question.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm glad that's finally out of the way, though.
Mhm.
Disposal of the fire truck.
Update on that, the board had agreed that it was gonna be posted on eBay with a $5,000 reserve for 10 days, no bids, then it would go to $2,500 for 10 days, and then again, if there was no bids, would go down to a $1,000 reserve for 10 days. I met with Glenn and his crew. He was nice enough to open up the garage, bring out the truck. I took photographs of the truck, exterior and interior. Glenn is just gonna give me a punch list as to the odometer and then also the make of the truck. Any other particulars that I don't know about, he's got the file. That should be done probably, I don't know, in the next 3 days. I'll put together a layout of the photographs and some ad copy that will go onto Craigslist and also eBay. Before that gets posted, I'll send it out to the board. If they have any kind of additions to that or suggestions, I'll make that, and then it will be uploaded to eBay and to Craigslist.
Perfect, thank you very much. Basketball court equipment. Eileen, do you have anything besides what Ned had emailed this afternoon?
No,
Okay,
I've been at the hospital.
I know,
I
I
didn't
know.
even see
That's-
this.
Ned emailed late today. He looked into one vendor.
Mhm.
I didn't even get a chance to open that and that link and look at that vendor, but I asked, we need 3 quotes. So we're gonna need to
Advertise it.
keep on that. Well, there's other quotes out there, there's other
Mhm.
companies out there, we just
Alright.
need to look into them. So this is an ongoing. So I'll put that for next month. I'll ask Ned to get more quotes. Update on the TAG grant, as Susan said, the grant was awarded. We got $3,500 towards our emergency management plan, which I'm very pleased to hear. So next month, or next month's meeting, we can award that probably. So and get started on that and get that finished. Zoning law update. We're waiting for the county 239 review. Carol, is there any other info on that, or that's
No.
pretty much it? Okay. Document shredding day, we mentioned already, the name of the company was listed wrong at the last meeting, the correct name is HV Shred. So just want that noted in the minutes, and then we'll approve that bill later. We had to send that, prior to the date to contract with them. The contract for Dog Mountain for shelter services, I've, yet to finish that. We've been in budget discussions, so that's taken up the majority of my time, so I'll get that done before next meeting.
Okay.
LDC, Cooper Arias. Had a conversation with our attorney, and I also had a conversation with Cooper Arias after he spoke with them. There's still debate over whether it's a gray area. They're saying basically it's a gray area with employees versus contractor.
Mhm.
So they've looked into it, and it's gonna cost us quite a bit to set up a payroll, set up all that paper, do all that paperwork and all that filing
Right.
to set that up in order to backtrack the way we wanted to.
Mhm.
So the suggestion is that we leave it alone. The worst case scenario is that we're talking about $5,000, which if we paid it would be $900. The worst case scenario is we're fined $900, which is still less than it would cost to set it all up. I don't know what the board would like to do with that. To just, leave it as it is. If Mr. Lang chooses to make an issue of it,
Then we're gonna have to go the other route.
well, if he chooses to make an issue of it, we may be fine, and the IRS may say, he said usually you do it on the front side, we're doing this on the back side. The IRS would usually make a determination.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we had advice contrary to that, so we went with our advice, and this is where we wound up. So, nothing was done intentionally. Of course, we wouldn't do anything like that intentionally, so I don't think,
I just know it's gonna be chalked up to us not oversighting enough.
yeah,
Lack of
and it's just,
oversight.
yeah, and I don't know that the IRS is gonna make that.
Well, it's
Big
still
of a
might
deal
fall
of it.
back, we were still responsible, that's the
Yeah,
bottom line.
absolutely, yes, we were, and, but they may come back and fully tell us that, yeah, they're contractors, because it is gray area, because one thing they do says, yeah, that's a contractor, and the other thing, well, no, that's an employee, and then you go back to, nope, well, that thing that
Can we
they
ask
did,
IRS
that's a
just to do a
contractor.
determination so we know where we stand?
Well, then you're reporting it.
I don't know, out here on the side of just being forward with about it.
So,
I don't like this idea of not reporting, hoping you slide through, it's since a
yeah,
very
no,
poor principle.
I agree, but,
Doesn't sit well with me at all.
it doesn't,
Doesn't sit well with
what
me
do we
at
do
all.
with it?
I say be upfront and honest with them and try to resolve it, rather than have something hanging over our heads.
The IRS is so nice. And
Yeah, you wanna irritate
Yeah.
them some more, that's the whole thing.
You guys wanna think on this, and,
Let's put it off to next month.
okay,
I wanna think on this a lot. Very unhappy about this.
yeah, me too. So next meeting, okay. Open bids for surplus items. Did you receive any bids?
we received 3.
Anything good?
And then,
Open them up.
this is a bid for the bulldozer tractor and bucket or bouquet. Submitted by Earl Myers. Glenn, you can do the,
There's no non-collusion form in this?
You can't accept it.
there's another bid for the Cat D7.
That's that one.
Yeah.
That's got a non-collusion. I don't know.
Well, is the name on the envelope? Is that X?
No, there's no name. Wait a minute. Jason Majeski.
Okay, yeah.
Majeski, however you
Majeski.
pronounce. And then one from Jim Excavating for the bulldozer. Non-pollution is included. Let's see where his bid is. Bid on second page. Oh, okay, it's on the second page.
And who was that?
Jim Act,
ACT. Oh, AKT.
AKT.
Right.
Do I get the number?
Do we have amounts?
Glenn will give you them.
Yeah, only 2 bids are gonna be good, and, they're both on the bulldozer. And, Jim is that his name? Yeah. Cat D7 bulldozer is $10,000. And the other bid from Jason was $5,650. And that was it. I mean, this bid just as well anyway on that one, but he did bid on the bucket and international. But the only thing we really got legitimate bids on is a dozer, and it goes to, what did I say it goes to? Jim, yeah, 10,000.
Okay.
Glenn, was there a tractor with a mower too?
Yeah,
Cause that guy, I gave him an envelope this morning, I don't know where that went.
you gave what guy?
He came in with his bid this morning, but he had no envelope, so I gave him an envelope and he took it down to Karen.
A short guy with glasses, skinny?
I don't remember what he looked like, but he had the collusion form and he had his bid, but he had no
Yeah, 'cause
envelope.
I thought for sure Bruce Larson there was gonna bid on the tractor. He came and looked at it. In fact, he actually got the tractor running.
Well, that may be the one that was in to see me this morning.
And he actually came back today because he wanted to know about the non-collusion form, and I sent him
Well,
downtown for it.
That's who it was then, and I don't know where that bid went, but I saw it on Karen's desk at one time.
Well, that doesn't interfere with the dozer, so you can really go ahead and award the dozer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We can. So your recommendation is obviously the highest bidder.
Yeah, 10,000, I think we ought to
Yeah.
take it because it does have a broken frame in it, so they're gonna have to
Yeah.
drop the belly pan and jack it up and patch it and everything else. So I think you better take it and run.
Yep. Okay, 16, motion to award the bid on the surplus item of the bulldozer. Does that have a more specific name?
Pardon me?
Does it have a more
D7.
specific name
Is it
than
Cat D7?
Cat
Cat
D7,
D7.
the Cat D7 bulldozer to the
Yeah.
highest bidder?
As is.
Cat D7E bulldozer,
Jim.
1976.
Okay, 1976, to Jim Act for the sum of $10,000.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Can I get permission from the town to run those 3 items again?
Is it worth running? I mean, it's worth the ad?
Well, we did have a couple bids here. I mean, we have a bid here. I mean, one's 500, the other's $550.
Because the ads cost us what, like 80 to $100
Yeah.
But
per?
that right there is 1,050, and that's only one guy. I mean, and I think there's another bid floating around upstairs, which is probably in by 2 o'clock too.
Yeah, is he the one I had?
Huh?
He was in to see me at 11.
Yeah, it may be in the mailbox upstairs. What was he bidding on?
He was
Just the
he was gonna be,
tractor with the
he was
mower.
gonna be
Tractor,
bid,
okay.
as far as I know, just the tractor.
I think we take a crack at it.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
So rebid?
Motion to approve the superintendent of highways to rebid the items that we did not receive bids on.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Glenn,
Opposed?
why don't you get some non-collusion clauses when you have them up there, if they're looking at it again, just hand them right to them.
Yeah, they know about him. I mean,
Have a couple with you and just make sure.
Earl Myers, I never saw Earl Myers come. He came while nobody was up there or anything like that, but he knew about it because I talked to him on the phone. So, because his son's Gary Myers, who bought the on deck, I do have a bunch of these upstairs, so.
Okay.
I have some others as well.
Okay, discussion item 17, budget 2014. As public knows, we had 2 very successful budget meetings. We've gotten through the budget and we'll be presenting the budget for a public hearing November 7th, 2013 at 6:30 p.m. Any discussion on the budget from the board?
I think we're as well as can be expected.
Yeah, we're at a 0% increase on our budget as well as taxes. There would be no increase in taxes next year, so that's what we're looking at, so.
That only
I think
counts
we-
for the town.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
God help
town,
us on the county.
not the county. So, so I think we worked well together and presented a good budget, and I think it's very successful.
When's the hearing, what time?
It'll be November 7th at 6:30?
6 or 6:30?
6:30, because there's court that night.
6:30?
Yeah,
6:30, because there's court that, it's a Thursday evening,
That'll be posted.
yeah. As soon as the final, we only had our last budget meeting yesterday at noon, so as soon as the numbers are finalized and printed, then you can obtain a copy of the budget if you'd like at the town clerk's office.
Or online.
Or online, correct. Okay, this should be 19, well, it should be 18, but there's nothing there. 19, demolition of the building. Demolition of building. What do I have there?
What building?
I have no idea. I don't know how that even got in there.
Where are you?
Is that in your agenda?
19 demolition of building.
Yeah, there's something in here.
Tusten Lake?
Oh, yes, thank you. And my resolution disappeared. Oh, okay, no, okay, it's just discussion, demolition of the building. Gary?
I received a complaint quite some time ago regarding a few buildings within the town. This one I had to do a little research on because of the vagueness of the property line that it was sitting on. I had a survey done, it was determined, found out who owns the building. It's basically a, lack of a better term, almost like a cargo container that was put together by someone and used maybe as a hunting camp years ago. And over the years, it just deteriorated, the roof has collapsed, it's filled with debris. There's some other construction debris to the side of it. And I'd like to clean it up. It's been there for as long as I've lived in this town, and it hasn't seen any use whatsoever. I did notify the owner. I haven't gotten a response back. I sent it registered as well as regular mail. I haven't gotten anything back.
How long ago did you send it?
I sent the letter to him on, it was over a month ago. Yeah, I waited a month and then I wrote the letter to the board.
Is this the same as item 24, or is this a different?
Yes.
This is the same as item 24?
16.19-4.
Where's that located?
Noble Sissel. It's,
Luxon Lake
Luxon
Road.
Lake Road. Okay, that was just to update the board, so you knew what that was. Any discussion?
Should we send one more notice before we start doing any action?
Send one more notice?
One more notice to make sure to cover up, so you know, we said 2.
Did you talk to Jeffrey about the notice?
You know, what I did was kind of an extra notice. What I have to do now is notify the board has to make a determination and direct me to send a notice to the owner. I already did send one, but that's just to
Okay.
try to get them to do it on their own.
Let's say one
Okay.
that's in front of the board and we're actually in
Okay. Send another letter, okay. I'll put that in the resolution.
Who actually is gonna do the demolition on it? Is that something you get a contractor in for, or?
Yeah, we just probably have to.
I know in the
Well, for
past,
this, what's the bid amount that we have to get bids for?
Oh, 20,000.
Yeah,
Other than that, 3 written quotes.
yeah, we
Excuse
would
me.
just need quotes for this, it's not that big.
cause I just know in the past, there's been times when the town highway was
Yep.
asked to do it, and I don't want no part of that. I feel when somebody owns their property, whatever they wanna do on it, it's their own business, I don't care what the town says. And I don't wanna be the guy on the dozer out there when that guy comes out of the house with a shotgun or whatever. Because I tell you what, if you stopped in my house and started tearing it down, you're gonna be met with deadly force. And there's a lot of other people around there like me, so.
I don't think there's anybody living in the home.
Well, you never know.
I've been on the receiving end of that, when you're actually doing it and they come out and they're pissed and, yeah, you have to go call the state.
I think the best thing there is just a private contractor and pass the bill on, if you're
That's
gonna do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Very unpleasant to have somebody pointing at it.
Okay, number 20, Mr. Langen asked for the water and sewer privatization be put on the agenda so that we could discuss it this evening. Contract he brought up at one of our budget meetings to contract the water and sewer departments out to a private contractor.
I think it's a mistake.
Um,
Well,
It always looks good on paper, because there's a whole bunch of things that are not computed into that figuring of the money.
well, he's,
I find it's a very short-sighted concept, and the purpose of local control being maintained over our infrastructure is primary to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have no control.
right.
You lose control and you have
No.
no idea what they charge you.
Well, two things I'd like to mention to the board. I know the other day when we discussed this at the first budget meeting, Mr. Lang had quoted he could save the department over $80,000. Today he sent an email, he said he could save $50,000. So, in the matter of a week, it's gone down $30,000, so that's considerable.
Where is he tonight?
He couldn't make the meeting.
Oh.
I also think when you know who is doing the job, you can, I mean, I keep track of you.
I know, I see you. I've got my eyes on you too, don't worry.
Oh, I got a beeper on you, don't worry about it.
We've studied this in the past. When Ben Johnson was supervisor, he was in favor of it. When one of our water and sewer superintendents had left the department, I brought with me the vouchers so that you guys could see them. Is the actual vouchers, you can just pass them along. We were being charged over $800 every couple of weeks just to use their license. So, and that's one of the contractors that he
I
looked
remember
into.
that contract.
Where am I passing this one?
So, well, you can look at them and then
Oh, okay.
And let's say, put it
pass
this
it
way,
back here.
This
we
is-
have all
this is-
those things that, like I said, are not done, the people who handy, doing the grease pump, you know,
Right.
the grease the grinder and the grease traps and stuff, that, with Dominic, that illustrates, that's a level of service you would not have gotten.
Well, that's the thing. He said that, you know, he says, well, they're be available 24/7, and I said, well, yeah, they're available 24/7, and I'm sure on Christmas Day when, you know, you're, they're gonna charge you whatever.
Double
to-
time and a half.
Yeah.
Well, not only
To,
that, if you hire somebody to hire someone, other people, then you're paying
Yeah.
not only your
Everybody's
actual
gotta make
wage,
money
you
on this
also,
deal, so you're the
mean-
one's gonna be paying the
Well,
bill.
when we looked into it before, I remember I couldn't find any paperwork on it upstairs. I got some more searching to do, but I'm looking for paperwork that we had done because we did do a study on it. Ben Johnson was in favor of this initially as a concept. We looked into it, wound up that it would wind up costing us more and actually costing us in service. Things they didn't do would be like inside and outside maintenance, leak detection, which is huge, and that's a huge savings for not only the town, it's a huge savings for the residents in the district.
We have an
because-
older system too, which is gonna have a tendency to get more
Yes.
leaks.
There's just a whole host of things that they don't do and don't offer or would offer at additional cost. It's also nice for the residents to know that, hey, you know, you've got the people that you're used to seeing, they're the ones coming to your home, they're the ones taking care of it, they have a vested interest in the town.
you know who to yell at. That means a lot.
I know, I forget which town it is, but somebody I just spoke with, was it Monticello? Is just taking back their system now,
However,
I can't remember.
It's like Louise Marie or
Yes,
something
like
Yeah,
Louise
that-
Marie, they're taking back that,
People didn't
system
have the
because, they had problems with the contract, so.
I think the town board has more control of it the way it is. Once it gets out there in private contractors, you don't know what they're gonna do. They might come in and say all the equipment's outdated and they need all new equipment and stuff.
Well, and the other thing too is who's gonna do the budget planning? Who's gonna prepare the budget? If you don't have a water and sewer superintendent, who prepares that budget? Who looks into and, Dom and I are gonna start working on a 5 to 10 year plan for the water and sewer districts. We have an aging infrastructure. We need to have a fiscal responsible plan for the future of how to replace this and what we're gonna do and how much we need to put in reserves and how much we're looking to the future to, we're gonna need to bond some things, of course, but right now the district is debt-free. We just paid off those bonds. Those bonds, what we'd normally be paying out in bonds, we turned around and put in the reserve this year, so that we have some additional savings for the future for when things break down. So those are all things to consider, and if you contract the entire department out, who does that?
if they get up and
So-
walk away at the end of the year, what do? You
Right.
still have to provide the service.
And actually, and I just want to clarify, because this is going to be on YouTube, I assume. So Ben was initially for this idea, and once we looked into it, he was against the idea. So I don't want to make it sound like Ben was all for this idea and still is. So that's just So those are my I'm not looking to even look into it, because we've looked into it in the past and it doesn't make sense for me. Eileen, how do you feel?
I feel it'd be ridiculous.
Tony?
It seems like most of the board members are against this idea. I mean, it was Mr. Lang that brought this up because this is his business, this is his profession, and I'm willing to listen to anything, but if the person who wants to initiate a discussion isn't here, then there's nothing to discuss, really. I mean, you, as the supervisor, you put his idea on the agenda for tonight, and so I was ready to listen, but no, I certainly concur with the board, and I think Dominic and crew are doing a great job. In fact, there's a surplus. If the members want to see how the highway crew and how the water and sewer crew are doing, they're doing an excellent job, so I certainly would want to change that.
Norm?
You heard what I said, doesn't change.
Yep.
It's working, don't fix it.
Right.
Get out. Moving on. Public comment.
Carol,
Ed.
I just want to make a comment on what you were just talking about. I don't think a lot of the public realize that when there's an emergency, the sewer department assists the highway department,
Yes. That's
and the
what-
reverse happens the other way, and that would never happen with a private contractor. You couldn't call him up and say, I need help on the road, you need a flagger or something like that.
Yep, there are little things that we'll have a problem in the bathroom at the building, and hey, Tom, you know, or Tom, and they're here to assist and help, and, yeah. And that's another little thing too, is, and Ned said, well, they don't do the backhoe services and whatnot, but, well, you can hire somebody, you can hire a local contractor, well, that all sounds good in theory, but again, on a Sunday evening or 2 o'clock in the morning when you have something going on, yeah, they're not gonna charge you their normal rate, yeah.
What have we noticed over the last 2 years?
And it's if you
trying to
can
get
get somebody
contractors?
right
Yes, what have
away.
we noticed?
Yeah,
We've been hat in hand how many times?
well, I think the county has gone this way, and I think they're feeling, we're feeling the tax impact of of those decisions, so. Star?
I just wanted to mention on this broadband thing that there's another aspect of it that could really hurt people, and that is that people who have those lifeline pendants, like if you fall at home, there's no accommodation for that under broadband. They'll lose it completely, so that's a really serious issue that needs to be addressed. I hope somebody goes to that Chris Gibson thing and brings that up.
That's a very good point, thank you, Star. Life alert, are they called, or?
Yeah, Life Alert. My sister had that.
There's 4 or 5 providers of this, that I know.
Don't you get 3 phone calls a day about it, Carol?
About? She's not old
I
enough.
know.
And I only get one occasion, I'm not old enough yet.
I get 2 or 3 a day,
Oh,
Oh,
no.
God.
phone calls to take up that
Right.
light.
That's not a good omen, you
No,
know
I guess
that.
I'm not at that age yet, I just signed up for the AARP, I just got that in the
You'll
mail,
get
so, you know.
Uh,
I'm at that age.
Still there.
Executive
They're
session.
calling for
They've
her.
called me
And
I
about,
don't think so.
they've
Bernie.
called me about 5 times already. I said I have a house full of people.
All right, yeah,
Go ahead, Bernie.
well, and it might need more than 10 minutes, but no, I wouldn't do that to you guys. I don't know. Of course, we're on the cusp of another election pretty soon, and I see a lot of erstwhile people here. According to the signs, it seems that everybody wants the jobs, according to what and I want to pass this on for the election. This is called respect.
Sounds good already, Bernie.
It's one little word with 7 little letters with big meanings. R is for responsibility to the people you represent. E is for evenness for everyone in our community. S is for sincerity, that the truth prevails. S is for progress, that we go forward and explore new ideas. E is for endeavor, to do the best we can at all times. C for collectivity, that we unite when a good idea is presented. T is for transparency, that all information concerning town business be made available to the people. except of course, executive session, which I don't believe in. And finally, putting it all together, respect for each other. Thank you. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Bernie.
May I have a copy of that, please?
Sure.
I would like to put that in the minutes.
Susan.
Carol, I have a comment on number 20, public comment. It's never been, the rules of the game here seem to have changed, because Bernie's comment wasn't on the agenda, but it was very pertinent. He was speaking about an election that affects all of us, but it was not on the agenda.
You're right.
And 10 minutes, I think it's very fair that anybody who wants to speak should be limited to 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever you guys decide. That's okay, because you can be concise. But I don't think anybody should be shut off by the fact that what they want to say is not on the agenda. Otherwise, you guys shut yourselves off from other people's ideas. Star just brought up something that maybe somebody who's not in a real, well, she just brought it up because it makes sense, but you take stuff that involves senior citizens. Well, you guys may not know about that, because you're not really senior citizens. You don't get there till you're at least over 70 anymore. So forget that. But then you have people with young children. They might have concerns that, again, you guys don't know about. So I don't think that is, I mean, I would totally, I like the way we've been doing it, where anybody who wants to come and make a comment, as long as it's pertinent to the town of Tusten, as long as it's directed to the board, and as long as it's a reasonable time limit, can say it.
Well, I think this is one of the reasons why we went with this statement before, is because we were getting somewhat out of context, out of
Control.
yeah, out of control, getting some wild things going on. And the board meetings are board meetings for the board to do their business. The way it reads in the law, and a lot of boards, Angela, you're on the school board, you can back me up on this. Board meetings can get very out of control if you allow too much public comment. That's what your elected officials are here for. They're here for you to speak with. You can speak to them after a meeting, call them on the phone, come to the office to see them, make an appointment to see them. But when we get into 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes of public comment that doesn't apply to the agenda, that doesn't, it interferes with the board getting the business done in a timely fashion. And some people come with a personal agenda and they want to talk about this, and it might get, and the problem is it gets everybody interacting with one another, and we've had a lot of that, and that's not healthy either. The comments are to be directed to the board. It's not a question and answer period. That's not healthy either. If you have questions and whatnot for the board members, again, those are things that be taken up at another time. This is for the board to complete the town's business. So that's how we arrived at this. But
I think you're shutting yourself off.
I don't think we're gonna, I mean, obviously, somebody said, Bernie just said something, I mean, I'm not gonna shut people down that, you know, it wasn't on the agenda. I mean, it's, as long as it's not obtrusive and obstructive and
Destructive.
yeah, and disrespectful and attack. I mean, we've had a lot of that kind of stuff go on too, and it's not healthy, and it's not good for our board or our community.
I'll just add, because Sue is the rep at the UDC, I think that, because I had put my 2 cents in a couple of months ago, and the thing is, I think that I had mentioned to the supervisor how the UDC deals with public comment, and that there's 2 areas of public comment. The first is when the meeting begins, there's public comment on the agenda, right, Sue? Public comment on the agenda. And then at the end of the meeting, there's just public comment in just so that if the public has something they want to say, whether it was part of the agenda or something that deals with Tusten,
Right,
that
and
they should be allowed to say that.
this wording came from you, actually,
Right.
yeah, yes,
So,
for that.
so that,
Yep.
that's basically it. But I certainly, I disagree. I understand what you're saying is there should be public comment on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. This is my opinion. At the beginning of the meeting, like the UDC does. And then at the end of the meeting, there should be public comment just in general. That was
That's
my.
why we put it here, so
Right.
before we make any resolutions, generally, we've had a couple, but nothing probably that people are gonna wanna comment on, but I put the public comment period before the consent agenda. So that way you can comment on items that we're about to vote on.
And then at the end.
But I think what
is
Sue
there
is
then-
asking, is there public comment at the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
So that somebody from the public who's in attendance
Right,
tonight,
so we can add that.
right, who
Yeah.
has something to say which was not on the
Yeah.
agenda, is able to say it, and then it's up to the board to decide what the cutoff time is, whether it's
Right.
3 minutes, or, because that's certainly the board's
So
discretion.
yeah, we can add it at the
Right.
end too, not an issue,
Well,
not a
then
big
that's
deal.
fair. If
Yeah.
somebody is sitting here and they have a new, a brilliant idea to share with you guys, they shouldn't be shut off from saying
No,
that.
oh, absolutely not, yeah, no. That's not what the intent was.
Just a quick question, broadband was brought up earlier in the discussion. Is there any part of the town that does not have broadband access?
Likely?
Yeah, I would say more likely.
Yeah, it depends on where you go.
Any place not covered with cable.
But not broadband access. I'm talking Time Warner, Frontier. I'm not talking
Satellite,
about using a
yeah.
cell phone, I'm
Any-
talking about,
Yeah.
because we're talking about apples and oranges.
And you got the distance restriction
Yeah.
between on DSL, how far they can push it from one of their switching stations.
Yep, if you're.
I think, was it a mile, Sue?
I'm at the end of it. I was
Yeah,
in
you-
Lava and I'm at
just
the
gotta
end
do
of the
it.
DSL.
Yeah.
Mine goes down all the time.
Okay, so I just trying to get a sense of just how
Right,
big an
yeah.
issue it is for the town.
Once once you get off 52, like Gables Road and stuff, there's nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of areas are just dark areas.
yeah.
You go down Hoffman, Ray, those.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to look at it, I don't know if there's a map, I'm sure somebody somewhere has done a study on it. There's probably a map that, yeah,
Because
Frontier.
Frontier, for example, called today,
Right.
they're pitching now you can get 24 meg service, which is terrific.
yeah.
You know, up from the 8 which we have at the moment down in the flats. So it seems to be going in, at least in that respect, in a somewhat positive direction.
Could this be something we wanna bring up when we start discussing with Time Warner?
Good, well, they don't offer,
No, I don't, but they could
Landline
expand their
services, though.
coverage. If this is the way it's gonna go,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to expand
expand the
their,
coverage to hit
expand the
everybody.
coverage so at
Well,
least they have
somebody should be
access.
going to that meeting, that, was mentioned previously, Congressman Gibson's meeting.
Yeah,
I forget when it was, but
21st.
somebody from the town, or
21st of
Yeah.
October.
public should be attending that.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, 21st.
21st, 9 to 12, yeah.
9 to 12 it is?
You
Yeah,
going,
9
Jan?
to 12.
I'm going.
No, 9 it just says.
yeah, 9 to 12, 8:15
9
is
to 12.
registration, 8:15 to 8:50. And it's 9 to 12, yeah. What day of the week is that?
Yeah, what day is it? Tony, on your calendar,
8:50,
please?
That's a Monday, yeah,
Monday.
it's a Monday.
did you say 8:50?
8:15 to 8:50 is the registration. Yeah, I won't be able to make it.
Jane, are you going?
I'm going.
Anybody else going?
That's a Monday?
Yep, it's a Monday.
Anyone who's going, if you want this study that I have, that's been done, it's a PDF, it's, you know, I don't know, 20 pages, something like that, but it's the county's available study.
All right,
So
yeah.
you could know all the initials and
Yeah, that'd be
some of the
helpful.
issues, that's where I got that from.
So where do I get?
I'll email it.
Good. You have my email. They're all got that.
Yeah, just call and register me and I'll be out there.
Thank
I'll head out.
I'm trying to think if I've got the thing, all right, wait.
I'll head out, Jane.
You'll go too? Good.
Sue, could you give that to Jane?
Yeah.
I
So they-
can't give a definite answer.
Norm and Jane are going right now.
Well, then I'll email
Right,
you
yeah.
what I have.
Okay, any other public comment?
I don't know if I can.
Okay,
Carol?
yes.
Let me just ask something, it's about something you said before, but I just wanna make sure it's sunk through here right. If there's a bid upstairs for that tractor, can we accept that bid? It was handed in, he met all the terms, he handed it in because it got lost in
As
the
long as all
office.
the terms are met, I would say yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, you're gonna do it the next meeting
So-
anyway, right? For the
Yep.
tractor? We're
No,
gonna bid again.
It should be done, I mean, as soon as we
Fair
can
to
get
him,
that
yeah.
envelope and open it up,
Okay, so
if it's acceptable.
that's fine, except you just okayed to rebid what wasn't bid on.
Yeah, but that was bid on, and he got the form, and it sounds like he handed the bid in.
Okay, so
Well,
you know it's the tractor?
Yeah,
Okay, so
I don't know if there's
I'll check
anything
the
else, though.
mailbox and if
It's
it's a
just
tractor.
for the tractor and the mower,
yeah, the mower's on the side
on
of
the
the
Okay,
side of the
so-
tractor, yeah.
So my question then is, if the bid is there, how do we open it?
Okay, okay, it's, I move
The
to authorize the superintendent of highways and the town clerk to open the bid if it is present in the office and due to clerical error did not make it to the board meeting. Authorize you to open the bid and we would award the
It's
bid
an
for the
acceptable
mower
amount.
for, well, it's
Whatever
gonna
it
be
is.
the only
Whatever it
bid,
is, it is.
so you have to accept it.
It's the only bid you
Providing
got.
that the bid was submitted correctly,
Mhm.
in a timely fashion, and with a
With-
non-collusion
Well,
statement.
With no
if it's only
penalty
a
to
couple
the bidder.
$100, I don't have to accept it. We put that in the
Yeah,
ad.
that's what I
Right, but
mean,
we'll
it has to
authorize
be
the
an
superintendent of highways to
acceptable
accept the
amount.
bid.
Mhm.
Glenn, it should be in one of my envelopes with planning board
You
crossed out.
can't penalize somebody because our,
And I think
No, we
maybe,
can reject the bid on your
Right, your
recommendation
recommendation.
next meeting
if we do accept the bid, we have just a trailer in the bucket, maybe we'd be better off just sending it down to Troby's. Instead of going through the trouble, because a trailer and that bucket's limited what it fits. And, I know she's going nuts now, but
Are we accepting it or not?
We're authorizing the superintendent to
acceptable.
accept the bid.
yes, he makes the decision.
Okay, thank you.
On Glenn's recommendation.
Right. If it's not high enough, then he can reject the bid, he can accept or reject the bid.
I figure you gotta get $500 out of the tractor.
And if he rejects
If
it,
it's
then
over
it could
500,
be.
I'll accept it. If
put
it's
up
under
to bid.
500, I'm not going to.
Okay.
How about 495?
No,
Do you have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, consent agenda, the only thing I'm gonna, change is number 24, a motion to approve the building inspector to demolish an unsafe and unlawful structure located on Lexington Lake Road identified by section block of lot number 16.-19-4, owned by Noble Sissel of Tampa, Florida. I just wanna add in that, he is to send a certified registered return receipt, letter
What are we reading?
to, prior to
Yeah,
I don't have
action.
take one.
That's 6:30, not 6.
Oh, yeah, you're right. And I'll change number 23, motion for the public hearing, to be set for 6:30 instead of 6.
Carol, which one were you reading just now?
23 and 24.
24 is the
Yeah, no,
first,
what,
23.
19 through 23, yeah, no.
Item
I didn't
23.
change
23
that,
and
so
6:30,
yeah.
but what were you just
That
adding
was
on?
24,
No,
the
no, no.
certified letter?
It's 22 through 27 now. Yeah, thank you. This is a rushed evening.
Motion to approve building inspector to demolish, what did you say on that?
Uh, he's, to send a letter, registered return receipt,
Prior to the
prior
action.
to the action.
Tell them that demolition is imminent.
Imminent.
We're gonna be acting
It's all
on it.
spelled out in the unsafe buildings law that was approved.
Right.
That's part of the process and procedure.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, but kind
It
of
has to be
stress to
done.
him that
Right.
it's gonna happen very soon.
So can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda items number 22 through 27?
I'll move that.
Second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have a, do you wanna do, does anybody have any other public comment? No? Okay. We have a very quick, executive session. I move to enter into executive session, due
I'll
to,
second it.
possible litigation. A second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any board comment?
Not for me.
Yeah, let's get the hell home.
Yeah, that'd be the best comment, but, revisiting the water thing.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna take,
No,
10 minutes,
revisiting the water thing for a very simple reason. We should definitely be insightful the fact, with the 5-year plan and everything else, that we have major changes gonna have to come to the water district.
absolutely.
And then also, as I was thinking about it, that the water employees are gonna be our greatest aid in managing these upgrades.
Absolutely.
In our own in-house quote-unquote inspectors.
Right.
So that puts another value in there that wasn't figured before.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
Tommy?
No, I have no comment. Thank you.
Eileen?
I
Any comment?
agree.
So Mark
Any
was down
comment on
Jay, I had a
anything else?
comment.
Any
Oh,
board
no,
comment?
no,
Me either.
I don't know.
Okay, do a motion to adjourn?
Try it.
I'll- Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?